Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Future Law Virtual Summit, Negotiating the New Normal. Many of us, we know why this moment is necessary, why we need to come together in this moment. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Margaret Rose Godard and Anya Blai, founders of the Future Law Institute. My name is Kareem Maddock. I'm the founder of Weave the Future. We are a full partner in this, and we're so happy to co-produce this with you. And I'm going to ask right away, Margaret, Anya, why are we doing this?
Yeah,
Where to start?
sorry?
Where to start?
Where to start? I think it starts 3 years ago. Hi, everyone. It's exciting to be here. Where did this all start? 3 years ago, Anya and I met because we were both concerned about how do we reimagine global governance. And there was this global competition, a call for papers from academics and professionals all over the world who had ideas about how to rethink how we make decisions collectively for our challenges. And Anya and I both submitted papers, and we met 3 years ago and began the discussion about how do we as lawyers, both of us are lawyers, start to think about how we can collaborate together across different jurisdictions outside of our niche areas, working with others to address the collective challenges that we face, because we share one planet and our legal systems basically are primarily negotiated through national spaces.
I mean, that event that you threw here in Bath 3 years ago, the Global Challenges Retreat, was to me an eye-opener. It was really something that a lot of people said they found their tribe. It kind of opened our minds, just in terms like we came together because we all knew that we can't tackle that alone. And then what we understood is that there's plenty more people that actually feel the same. So we all of a sudden understood that we are not alone in this space. And just like Kareem here, we kind of found each other and found our common path and onboarded it. I mean, 3 years ago, we said, okay, let's do something about it. And then one thing led to another. We established the Future Law Institute last year and figured out that since we are all in different parts of the world, we need to do something virtually. And this is where the idea for the Future Law Virtual Summit was actually born for the first time. And then what happened was COVID. So at that time, we literally decided to switch our attention, even though it was like a very complimentary time to really start with a virtual summit, and decided to go with a database instead, because that was far more alarmant and far more important. We had a huge network of lawyers, each of them in their own jurisdictions, figuring out, just how the laws apply in times of the crisis. And I have to say, a lot of people struggled with the same idea. We never actually knew who has the authority, who is going to be posting the rules on us, and just how the rules are actually being proposed and promulgated online. So this is what brought us together. And again, I mean, the idea for the virtual summit was born.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things that came out of our work during COVID-19, where lawyers from all over the world came together, and not only lawyers, we had domain experts, system thinkers, we had people like Kareem from Weave, who came together because they're seeing that there was a need for an interdisciplinary dialogue and approach. And one of these things, the most important things I think that came out for us in that whole experience was all of the diverse discourses and all of the disciplines that had to be brought together to figure out why was this happening in this country and not happening in this country, and why was this happening at this level to this demographic and not happening to this demographic. It really was a meta-legal approach that was required, and we needed to find a common language and a common foundation for multiple disciplines to come together to really address the challenges that we see. And Kareem, you have been really influential and helpful in helping us to weave these various communities together in these different disciplines. Why are you excited to be a part of this, and what brings you here?
Yeah, thanks for that. Wow, I'd almost have to tell you my life story, but I'm not going to do that. What really got me connected right away to this initiative was the notion of having to figure these really complex challenges out together. And I think what we're seeing right now is that you know, they're kind of really big, right? We have a global pandemic, right at, you know, we're in the midst of climate change. I'm hearing myself and but you need to hear me too. um, Big issues, rising authoritarianism, our democracy is under pressure, etc. They're not small issues, and I think if they're as big as they are, as complex as they are, they require a new kind of coming together, a kind of coming together that transcends well, nation state borders, involves many different actors. We can't just rely on our governments to get through this moment. We actually have to step up and figure this out together. And I think that's why I became a weaver, and that's why it was totally logical to join you on this mission.
And you know, what's exciting as well, coming out of the work that we did when we organized ourselves in these network communities of practice, is that, you know, the UN, the United Nations, has started paying attention to the work that our communities have been doing. We put out a paper on model crisis procurement provisions to be included in trade treaties. And that was acknowledged because the United Nations as well, like all international organizations right now, are really trying to grapple with how we address this and what are the new ways of being and doing, and this new normal, how do we navigate it? And so the UN put out a call for these papers, and we were already working together and figuring out, mapping these policies and identifying the gaps across jurisdictions. And a little later on, you know, you're going to hear a lot more about the work we did at the global COVID-19 policy response. And we're putting spotlights on a couple of the countries that really stood out during our journey, Kenya and India, over the next couple of days as we map these policies. So the UN has been paying attention to what we're doing and recognized our paper, and we'll be working with their expert group. We have a webinar coming up with them in a few days. And so it's, you know, it is really about how do we as professionals not sit and just wait for the governments to get the answers, wait for international organizations to get the answers for us. Each of us have our own expertise, and negotiating the new normal and this platform that we are building, all Weave and Future Law Institute together, is about how do we bring all these disciplines together and give professionals the opportunity to leverage their expertise, pool it with us, and let's collaborate and figure out how we can identify those system intervention points that can really create, you know, exponential impact for us, because time, you know, is an issue.
Yeah, and to sometimes we have to slow down a little bit to move fast, go further together. So we need to back this up a little bit. I mean, the issue you just kind of touched upon it, but the issue is really, we all saw it at home. Everybody across the world saw it. The issue of masks and other private protective equipment that ensued, the chaos that ensued, that nations were competing with each other, states and provinces within these nations were competing with each other. And it was, you could almost say, left up to the market. At a certain point, masks were going for $30, $50, $60 a piece, I don't know. And what can then a collaborative like this do? What did you then do? What did you say, we need to intervene here because this is not working, obviously? Everybody saw the chaos, but what can we do about it?
Yeah, so what we did when we looked at the system, an interesting perspective or policy approach in the context of public procurement is that in the time of emergency, forget about rules. And so at the trade agreement level, at the time of a crisis or an emergency, any conditions that are put in there for transparency and accountability in the context of procurement and trade agreements go out the door. It's actually expressly written that these do not apply in times of crisis. And we felt that if you look at a national level, at national levels, governments still, even in times of crisis, must adhere to transparency and disclosure requirements, recording and justification of their purchases, even in times of emergency, which is why we've seen so much coming out in reports in the UK and in other countries about the improprieties during that time. That is required at a national level, but at the international level, all the rules are thrown out in a time of crisis. So there is a huge gap. This is what we are seeing in our collaborative, and Farzad Fala is coming up over a few days from now in this summit to talk about those gaps for international disaster management, law and crisis management and all of that. So yeah. Yeah.
It's in addition to that, I mean, what we are also observing in the collaborative is that the law has become very, very complex. So in order for us to really approach or collaborate with other people, not just lawyers, we kind of need to break it down to the point where we all understand what we are talking about. Not even lawyers actually understood what was happening in the crisis. So all of a sudden we're like, okay, so how do these rules apply to our social, aspects, or whatever we do, the rules apply. So we really need to understand where this comes from and how it's going to interfere with our daily work, or how it's going to be leading our lives through the days. So what we are recognizing also on the summit is that we have to be very mindful of who these rules are for and how we collaborate, how we communicate with each other. We kind of made a pledge to ourselves to open up these discussions and make it family friendly almost, knowing that there's kids in the room. We have made a promise to ourselves to explain it to a 5-year-old. And if you're able to explain that rule to a 5-year-old, then everybody should be able to understand it. It's not that we are writing all these rules and that we are making all these systems complex because it needs to be complex. No, it should be understood by everybody so that we can generate and galvanize a bottom-up approach, which is going to be creating the rules that are made by everybody and for everybody.
So I think we can all see that there's like big challenges out there. And this was a specific example with regards to masks, how we can intervene, help come together as a global society, help our governments, help figure out these kind of what we're calling these strategic intervention points where we really need to work in a different way. So where is this all going? Give us a picture of what maybe the next 5 days will look like in a minute or two, but also where do we go after that? What are we trying to get out of this with each other?
Yeah, this agenda is incredible in terms of the diversity of perspectives and voices and issues that are put on the table, because we wanted to recognize as much as we could not have every single issue under the sun, but as much as we could, we wanted over the 5 days to be tracking and looking for the underlying connections in this complex system that we have, because we thought just going with one theme would not really allow us to explore the complexity of the interconnectedness of all of the challenges that we are facing. So it is quite a journey for participants. And the important thing, I think, for participants is to choose what matters to you the most. And it's really been designed for you to curate your experience. We've loosely identified 4 main tracks, and each track is color-coded. So if you're interested in multilateralism and democracy and global citizenship, this is where you go. If you're interested in tech, this is where you go. If you're interested in one of the most pressing issues of our time, how do we address data? Who owns it? How are they using it? And how are we regulating persuasive technology? Then there and disinformation and all of those things. There's a track for that. And then, of course, the underlying issue that is, it's no longer an elephant in the room. We're all talking about it, rethinking capitalism. But, and so it really is a journey where people can just choose, where do I see myself? What do I want to learn more about, and how can I plug in? A key part of this is the collaborative journey, Kareem, that you are leading and helping us with. And that journey, we invite everyone to come on board with us on that journey. I'm looking at the time and I do want to say something, but just plug in with us and you're going to see much more what's going on as we go forward. But one thing before we introduce a little surprise before we go is this. One of the things that makes this whole summit, I think, really special is that even though it's the Future Law Virtual Summit, we recognize that law is an expression of who we are. And one of the things we want to do in the Future Law Virtual Summit and in the Future Law Institute is how do we bring all of ourselves, you know, all of who we are as human beings into the practice of the law, into our policies and procedures. We've just had a session with Agavni and Els about bringing the heart back into the law. And Kareem, I'd love for you to introduce our surprise guest right now, Winston.
I would love to. I would love to.
Represent what we are trying to do in the world, what we're trying to bring back or bring into the law.
I'd love to. I'd love to. I just met this guy. He's amazing a few weeks ago. And I'm reminded kind of what Jeremy Lent was speaking about in the opening keynote this morning about kind of returning to who we really are. I really believe our special guest is embodying that, embodying who we can really be as people and what our next step is basically in our evolution. And it kind of ties into, being who we really are. His name is The Promise. He's also known as Winston Depp. I'd love to bring him on board, and we're going to hear from him, and he's going to share a little bit about his dream for this new normal. Can you reveal yourself? It's exciting.
Dear humanity.
There he is.
Dear humanity, you was given the right to exist, to evolve. You are given the right to live, smile, cry, and resolve. But most of all, that what was given to you to get along was done so to give you the right to be strong. In times of disaster, mayhem, struggle, and uncertainty, realize that I am you and you are me, and that's reality. Time has come for us to move from the old to the now, and from darkness to love. We cannot break this vow. The good which we have seen evolving throughout the ages is pointing out a destiny to fulfill the pages. From the book of a future untold, realize something is laid in your hands for you to unfold. Evolution.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful promise.
Thank you for that.
And guys, this is what it's all about. It's about evolution, and it's about bringing that heart into the law. And as we go through the next 5 days and we're thinking about legal system change, let's know that when we're trying to transform the world, it's really about transforming ourselves. There goes my phone. Yeah. So thank you guys. Thank you for joining us in this little opening, Evolution. Yeah, Winston. It's going to be.
I could have just like a few words here, because it's very beautiful to be among and with you, and I really love this initiative. So when we look at this this sentence, negotiating the new normal, So we know that normal actually means like something that's considered a standard or a rule. But did you also know that normal also means a carpet, a square? And that's pretty suitable because when we look at negotiate and where it's derived from this Latin word called negatiato, it actually means no leisure, business, or in other words, work. So exactly, when we negotiate the new normal, is we working, we handtaking this carpet, a square anew to refine and define new realities. So let's roll up our sleeves together and let there be glimmer to the gloom as opportunity dawns at the horizon, and let there be strength, wisdom, and love throughout this summit and beyond. So together we can work and engineer this new future. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Winston. And Winston will have a session on the Lovolution, actually the launch of the Lovolution, tomorrow evening at 7:30 p.m. Central European time. You'll have to calculate that all for yourselves at home, what time that will be. But thank you for this wonderful contribution to the opening of Negotiating the New Normal. And I learned something, so thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Sharing what negotiating normal means. So we have a big task ahead of us, rolling up our sleeves. Final words to you, dear founders.
Yeah, absolutely. On the same spot with you with regard to the time zones. We are having a broad audience from all around the globe, and we are very fairly aware of the fact that we are handling numerous different time zones, and it's a bit of a challenge, but this is why we have created a schedule where it's very easy for you to actually join a session. Just click on the session and you'll be driven directly to the Zoom or directly to that stage where the session is ongoing. Thank you also, Winston. I mean, that was amazing. Let's go on this magic carpet ride. Who knows where it's going to lead us? And yeah, let's discover all the new horizon.
It's
Barbara,
a craft, a creative, co-creative process. It's going to be a beautiful craft. And with all these wonderful people, you know, it's just a blessing to be among and with you. So I'm definitely looking forward to what's coming, the past coming days forward ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. So housekeeping, just a little bit of housekeeping for me. Once this, we're going to round this session off, but right here in this Zoom room and in this stream, if you're watching via the stream, what's coming up is a round table on multilateralism and the global COVID policy response based on all the work this collaboration has been doing over the last few months. The enormous database that has been compiled of policies from all over the world, from over 190 countries of states and provinces. All the responses with regards to policy and COVID from the world has been compiled in that database. It's been a huge undertaking, incredible work by all these volunteers from all over. And we'd really love it if you can tune into that roundtable, because there we'll be talking about where do we go with this now? How can we as a collaborative contribute to what needs to happen with regards to this pandemic? Other housekeeping, if you have any challenges, because this is the first time we're doing this is an incredible experiment, bringing together people from all over the world into this virtual summit. We built our own platform. You might have challenges engaging with the platform. That's fine. It can happen. Send an email to support@futurelaw.io, support@futurelaw.io if you have any challenges getting in, and we can help you from there. That's all I had to say with regards to housekeeping. Any final remarks from your end, or are we closing the session?
We're good. Ashe.